today reviewing the Silisponge. Seen these all over the internet. It literally looks like a chicken fillet, bra fillet. Very flexible. It's just this silicone, it's soft, clear, and we're going to see what it does to my skin. So I'm going to show how I would normally do my makeup, which normally involves priming, which I've done. I use a Aqua Priming Base by Revolution, and then I use a CoverFX gel primer, which has anti-acne treatment because my skin's pretty bad. I then normally use a colour correct palette and then foundation. So I normally apply my foundation with a brush, and then I usually buff it in with a blender. So I'm going to do that to start with, and then afterwards I'm going to take it off, and then I'm only going to use this and foundation and see the difference in the coverage. Okay, so I'm going to start with the colour correct palette. As I normally would, I use green on any spots and red bits, which generally hides them quite well. A pinkish colour under my eyes. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be saying, why is she using so much colour correct? You shouldn't use that much. But one, it's my face. Two, this is what works best for me. And three, there's not actually a right or wrong way to put makeup on. I find the pink gets rid of dark circles, or at least hides them. It doesn't look very pink on the camera, but it is pink. Okay, so next I'm going to use foundation. I'm using one by Acti-labs. I can recommend a sponsor for them, which I'll put a link in the descriptions or wherever I'm posting this. So I've used 2 squirts of this, which I would normally do. Sometimes I use a little bit more. Generally, because my skin is in the condition it is, it's not as bad as it used to be now. When I was younger, my skin was awful, and I got bullied really bad for it when I was in school and growing up, and it made me self-conscious. So now I get I'm using another squirt, so that's 3 altogether. Now my skin's breaking out, I get really paranoid about it and layer on the makeup. Okay, so I'm just going to use a normal foundation brush for this. And yes, I put foundation on my eyelids. I also normally do my ears too, just because they generally end up being quite red. So I use this foundation brush, it's just a flat foundation brush, instead of one of the liquid foundation brushes or a flat brush or puff brush or whatever brush it is, simply because I don't like them other brushes. I find them useless, I end up streaky, although recently this has been making me streaky. So I don't know whether maybe my skin's changed or something to do with the weather maybe in my skin. So recently I've been using a blender just to pat it in. Which I find gets rid of any streaks. So that's give me, you can see it's given me a fairly good coverage. It does look cakey, especially once I've done contouring, highlighting, face powder, blush, all the rest of it. Then it does generally look quite cakey, but it's covered and you can't really notice my acne too much through it, which isn't too bad, seeing as this foundation is, it's a full coverage, so it's this not done too bad. I chose this one to use to show this because normally I would use literally a cheap £5 foundation, which is actually a really good coverage, but I thought I'd use one that's a little bit more pushing the boat out, not expensive, not high end, but it's more than a £5. So that's my coverage with a colour correct palette and foundation. So I'm going to remove all this and I'm going to see what it's like just with foundation. I also normally after this would put concealer on as well. So yeah, if I look photoshopped in my photos compared to how I look before I've got makeup on, now you know why. Okay, so now I'm back to my normal self. I'm going to do the foundation with the Silisponge. So this time may turn out a bit more different than I'd hoped anyway, because I ran out of primer. So I've got hardly any primer on. But if this is as good as what people say it is, then it shouldn't be an issue. So with this, normally people say you need about half the amount of foundations you would normally use. So as you saw before, I used 3 pumps of this, which at that rate, using it daily would not last me very long at all. So I am going to start with just 1 pump. I'm just going to put it straight on the sponge and just start with 1, see how that goes, and let's hope for the best. So first off, I have to say, if this is your first time using one of these, it is a little awkward, but that could just be me. I found a beauty blender awkward when I first used one, so you know, it could just be me that's awkward. So the other time this does actually feel a bit unusual is when it gets to the eyes. It kind of goes into the shape of your eye, but because it's a lot harder than a beauty blender, it's a little more No, it doesn't feel quite as gentle, I guess. And I am really having to go back in and buff it in, but again that could just be because of my preference. So with one pump of foundation I've done all of this, which isn't bad, so I'm going to go with another one and hopefully that's going to do the rest of my face and my neck. I would recommend to spread it out as well before buffering, unlike how I did here. Yeah, I definitely recommend spreading it out a bit further before trying to buffer it in. Kind of feels like you're slapping yourself in the face. Okay, so my verdict is this is actually really good. So I have got the same coverage, if not a bit better, with this and this, just foundation and primer. Not a lot of primer at that, mainly just a water-based primer. Then foundation, 2 lots of primer and colour correcting concealers. And to top it off, because it's silicone, it's quick and easy to clean. There you go, it's clean, ready for the next time. And that was just a baby wipe. I've used 3 pumps of this when using a brush to do my face and my neck. With the Silisponge I've used 2. I've done my face, my neck and my ears. And I've not used any concealer yet. Why has this not been made sooner? These for foundation are just no good. I'm not using them anymore. I'm using this from now on. Every time I do my foundation I'm using this. The colour correcting palette is only coming out in dire need. Invest. UK it's only £7. It's brilliant. I'm gonna leave links to who I got this from. I recommend her highly, so go check her out and get this. It's worth the money.